Welcome, all you kids and squids, to our recap of the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021. My name is Ninehole Grains, I'm a Splatoon commentator and a huge fan of the game, and I cannot be more excited to bring the action to you here today.
Hi everybody, my name is Milana and I'm an enthusiastic squid kid just like you. Today we're joined by two teams, Not FT Win and Starburst, two of the best teams in North America duking it out for a trophy featuring Judd and Lil Judd. Without further ado, let's take it to game number 1.
Game 1 was a story of decisive movement and trusting your game plan, and boy did these teams get it started early.
That's right, Nine. We can see here Kyo getting an early splatted by Bran and Ice. And both members of Starburst moving to that advantageous positioning and, really just holding down that zone where they need to be.
It's not easy to take back against this team, and take a look at how Not FT Win did it. Look at all those bombs flying from left to right, booyah bombs, suction bombs, splat bombs. Woo! Had to back all the way back and give up the zone there.
Yeah, and we can catch that slow-mo replay in case you missed a little bit of that action. As we can see here, some of those suction bombs running in and trying to catch that zone from Not FT Win. And what is important here to notice is that two members of FT Win trying to combine their specials to hold that zone, and because there's power in numbers, Nine.
There absolutely is power in numbers. I see what you did there, and this is actually a strategy that they used multiple times throughout this game. We actually have it from the perspective of Bagel this time, who is lined all the way back, tossing the suction bombs from as far away as possible, understanding that they need to stay on the map if they want to take the zone. At the corner of your eye, you'll also see that Kyo had jumped down with another bomb rush as well. It was just enough to take the zone back as they were on the verge of defeat. With just over 10 seconds left, they bought themselves some more time.
And like we said, positioning. Biscuit here is taking kind of a dangerous position and unfortunately gets picked off by Ice, but Ice here using that pick to make space and take a more advantage spacing so that they can protect the zone.
The two teams traded punches back and forth through the rest of it until this final decisive hold here from FT Win. Bagel once again gets it started out with that suction bomb rush, but take a look here, holding down this area by this fan to ensure that his teammates could move up. You're gonna see here just in a moment, Kyo backs up here next to Bagel and uses another bomb rush in order to force the members of Starburst all the way back. Once they got this portion of the map, Milana, they never let it go.
That's right, Nine, and we see that timer ticking down, and this was the decisive play that gave them the victory.
A fantastic game number 1, and let me tell you, when we saw that game number 1 looked like this, we knew we're in for one heck of a set. And speaking of that set, let's go ahead and throw it right into the middle with game number 4.
As we enter Game 4 of the Fresh 4 Championship, Not FT Win only has one more game to claim the victory. Starburst is going to have to make some big changes, so they opt to change their weapon composition to something a little longer ranged.
What Starburst gained in a bit of range, they gave up in mobility. About halfway through the game, Not FT Win took advantage of a slight overextension and used that speed to swarm the members of Starburst as they went on to score big. From there, it was a hop, skip, and a jump to get a huge lead that they would hold until the game's waning seconds.
And with 30 seconds left on the clock, Starburst is going to have to make some big moves to get some points on the board. Brandroid taking that left route over there and getting a pick off of Not FT Win is going to be huge. It's going to give them a little bit of area to move forward, and it's going to make Not FT Win retreat.
They took advantage of that almost immediately. You can see Bran and Jared at the top of the screen attacking Not FT Win's flank. In the meantime, Ice and Brandroid wait patiently for that attack to land, and once Bran rotates back, Ice moves in with a huge score that starts the bonanza. The rest of the members swarm as quickly as they can, and an emphatic victory going the direction of Starburst.
And with the end of Game 4, Starburst is finally on the board, and the momentum starts to shift in their favor. That will bring us to an exciting Game 7. Let's take a look here.
We had finally arrived at Game 7, the championship point. The two rivals had treated us to another incredible set in their storied history. But it was finally time to determine a winner and for heroes to be made.
Our first big play was made by Ice. Ice from Starburst surviving an unlikely 2v1 right here And this gives Starburst the ability to push up a little bit. And Ice, taking that aggressive positioning, is able to charge their special, the Stingray. By using the Stingray, they are able to kind of produce a little bit of covering fire and take out hopefully a member or two of Not FT Win, helping that Rainmaker make its first push.
Not to be outdone by his teammate, Bran went on an absolute tear this game, hitting an incredible double direct with this Inkjet and getting a second pick on Kyo from Not FT Win. This push looked like it might take the points the distance as the team moved closer and closer to getting that knockout.
What Starburst wasn't anticipating was Biscuit waiting for them as they were making that push. Biscuit able to hold that defensive positioning and take a couple of members of Starburst down allows for an opening for Not FT Win to make a push.
In their final desperate push, FT Win placed all their cards in the correct position. Kyo and Bagel moved up, taking out 3 members, with the last one being Brandroid. In an incredible, unlikely fight, Brandroid was able to take out all 3 members of Not FT Win, securing the victory for his team.
But that was a lot of action in one go, so let's take another look at the action in slow-mo. As we can see here, 2D is holding a defensive positioning, trying to defend against Bran, getting a lot of support from their teammates, and in this one last final opportunity to make the push, unfortunately Brandroid is able to stop all 3 members of Not FT Win in one go, giving the victory to Starburst.
At the end of this historic set, Starburst completed an incredible reverse sweep to earn their very first North American Championship.
And 9, I for one cannot wait to see Not FT Win and Starburst duke it out on the battlefield once again.
We've hoped you'd enjoyed this recap of the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021. Until next time, stay fresh!
Whether it's to play your favorite game, to play for school pride, or for the thrill of competition. Play competitively with Play Versus. Visit playvs.com today for more information.
In this house, we duel.
Nice try.
Here we go.
In their house, we duel.
KO.
Yes! In our house, we score. We love teaming up.
Play.
And we love a little competition.
Aw, it's okay. You got it next time. You got it next time.
Ready? Whether it's with family, friends, or rivals near and far.
This is the end. Block, block, block.
Yes!
So whichever sport you choose, victory could be just within reach. You ready to play? Nintendo Switch Sports. Available now only on Nintendo Switch.
Oh, baby! Well, happy Saturday and welcome into Event 3 of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. I'm your spray-by-spray host, Jordan Kent, and joining me, two of the finest Splatalists in all of Inkopolis. Let's start with the man to my right. He's just 1 grain shy of 10 grains. We've got 9 joining us, and 9, I know you're very thrilled because we'll get to some of these teams here in a second, but you love the competition we've been seeing week in and week out.
I really have been, Jordan, and we've gotten to see so many of the same teams over and over, and we'll talk about that later on in this cast as well, but it's so great to see the teams improve and adapt to one another as time goes on.
And flying in from Corneria, saying something sarcastic to Fox, of course, we've got Falco joining us for the very first time. Falco, welcome to the Squid Squad. What are you looking forward to today?
Hey, Jordan and Nine. I am looking forward to some great matchups. Like Nine said, teams we've seen before, teams we haven't really seen before, and just overall watching some great action.
All right, you guys have teased these teams. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket for today's action. And let's start with you, Nine. Some familiar faces, but also a powerhouse lurking in the pools.
Yeah, take a look right there at the top. Not FT Win. This is 3/4 of the team that dominated North American Splatoon for so many years, bringing up a lot of players that you all will know. Kyo, Shaq, Bursty are here, but they're up against a very wily team in DNA. They are the epitome of just punch harder, and if they get one opening, they can take it the distance.
And Falco, we see Super P and Ryu, a couple of familiar teams we've seen in the last couple of Inkopolis Showdowns. They finally face off against each other in the semifinals.
Yeah, this is going to be a perfect opportunity to see these two teams go head-to-head and see which one will move on to the grand finals.
And with those grand finals, we will have one grand prize winner. They will win a gaming chair, Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022 trophy, 10,000 My Nintendo Gold points, a gaming headset, a Splatoon 2 jacket, a backpack, and a Nintendo Switch carrying case that can go in said backpack. But we mentioned the semifinals. Let's go ahead and check out the rules for the semifinals. They will be best of 5, and don't forget, the team with the lower seed will choose the mode for the first game. The other team will choose the stage. After that, the losing team will choose the mode, and the winner will choose the stage. You have to go through all 4 game modes before you can repeat, and then after that, you can obviously repeat some of those game modes, but for the stages, you can repeat them, as we saw last time, 9, with a couple of Sturgeon shipyards finding their way in there. But Falco, let's get to really high-level play here, and what we are seeing from the teams that have won the last couple of events, they play a complete game from start to finish. What do some of these elite teams really focus in on to make sure that an entire game they're doing what they need to do correctly?
Yeah, it's all about identifying where your opponents are and being able to win those 1v1s. Once you take the objective, you want to push forward, communicate with your teammates. I think that is very key, and all 4 of these teams know that is what they need to do.
And 9, regarding Super P, we saw them finish in second last time. It always feels like there's just one thing they've got to do to close out the game, and unfortunately, they weren't able to do it enough last time. What do these high-level teams, these championship caliber teams, do to close things out?
Well, they understand exactly what resources the opponent needs to build in order to make a big push. If they are indeed trying to come back at the end of a game, if you understand that your opponent needs to build 3 specials in order to break through your defenses, sometimes going out, getting a trade, painting a certain part of the map means that that can't actually happen, and it means that even though it seems indirect, you've assured yourself a victory.
Well, we know what the very first game and round will be. It'll be tower control, and breaking news, 9, Sturgeon Shipyard. So as we get set for a very popular map here, Sturgeon Shipyard. Falco, let's flip it to you. What really stands out to you when you look at tower control on Sturgeon Shipyard? Because every single map, there's 1 or 2 key points as far as those checkpoints that you have to make sure you try to clear to give yourself a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's going to all be about the positioning. There's a lot of different height differences on this stage. So maybe figuring out where your backline can be, where your backline can get those splats and help aid your teammates get past the checkpoints.
And 9, a lot of times too in tower control, we see the teams that have the lead really shift to a defensive focus once you have that sizable advantage. With a minute left, it feels like being able to flip from defense to offense and the timing of the specials always critical in tower control.
It's so critical, and especially on a map like this that is a little bit longer back to front with all the avenues to attack, like Falco kind of alluded to, it means that you have to be very decisive. If you get the defensive stop and you've sent the opponent 3 down, move forward, take the space, get ready to attack them as they come back to defend, because if you play passively, the opponent's going to build their specials, and then you're not going to get anything.
And to build on that strategy talk here, Falco, I think a lot of teams that want to be in the position that we're seeing right now of a Super P, of a DNA to get to these Final Fours here, what do you have to do when you're trying to advance that tower? You've got someone on it, but what are these teams going to do well to move it forward here?
Yeah, it's, again, all going to be about positioning. You want to be in front of the tower. You can't have the tower be the one guiding the path. You need to have your teammates in a good position. Call out those people who are trying to flank to try and get the person on the tower. So communication.
And it really feels like, Nine, avoiding the numbers disadvantage while you're on the tower, because you really are playing some 3-on-4 at that moment with your person on the tower. Of course, providing a little bit of aid, but they're moving at a slow, gingerly musical pace most of the time.
Yeah, and that's why you have certain weapons that tend to do that. A lot of times you'll see a team put their Ink Armor user there because it's a global special, right? They can paint as they're moving forward, throw the special out. You'll see some people fire Tenta-missiles from on top of the tower, and then, of course, the tried and true have your backliner be on the tower because they've got the range to contribute anyway.
Getting ready to start here with our very first game. The first matchup will be between Not FT Win and DNA. We talked about Not FT Win. 3 of their 4 members have been at this championship level before. They are the favorites most likely to go here. But Falco, the mindset here, if you are one of these teams facing a Not FT Win, how do you make sure you don't get too hyped up and you make sure you stay true to your game? How do you really lock in and focus as you get set here?
Yeah, it's a very daunting task, but you have to take it one game at a time. You can look forward to potentially winning the set, but you want to take care of business right then and there. So one game at a time, even one checkpoint at a time in tower control.
And how important is a good start in tower control, Nine? Because it's not one of those games that you can just sprint and win on an initial push. It's very rare to see somebody do that on tower control. Is that good start really important to get the lead first, or is it more about timing that first push that you get?
I would say both of those statements are correct in the sense that there are some maps where you really, really want to get that first checkpoint cleared as quickly as you can. And I do think this happens to be one of the maps where getting past that first checkpoint is not a gimme. There's a lot of avenues to attack it. So if one of these teams is able to have a big team fight, come out on top and get past that first checkpoint, every subsequent push is going to be substantially easier.
Once again, we're getting set for Not FT Win to take on DNA. Best of 5. It's going to be tower control on Sturgeon Shipyard as they get closer and closer. It really is interesting here when you get to the counter picking that happens after the first game here, potentially, Falco. If you lose, you've got to obviously change game modes, but if you win on a map, it feels like you just want to run that map back once again.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see what happens, but these two teams are ready for game 1, so let's see Not FT Win versus DNA.
Here we go, Not FT Win versus DNA. Sturgeon Shipyard kicking off this Event 3 of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown. Let's check out with our eye in the sky. Nine, what do you see with these loadouts?
Well, if you're a fan of Not FT Win here, you'll notice something has changed up a little bit. You've actually got Shaq on the Kensa 52 gallon, incredibly popular weapon, and Kyo piloting the weapon that Shaq has really pioneered at the top of North America, the Kensa Splatter Shot. Very interesting that they've swapped it up here at this high of a stage.
A look at Bursty right now, Falco. Obviously, no team has really taken a huge advantage, but here comes the first initial push for Not FT Win. 4-4 on the map, and so far you see Bursty here, Falco, very wise just to hop off the tower, make sure that you don't give yourself up as an easy target.
Yeah, Bursty saw what specials are coming. Again, very close to that checkpoint. You want to approach the checkpoint, but you need to know when you need to back off. And with that, Not FT Win is going 2 players down now. So this is going to be DNA's chance to try and capitalize.
And to that point, Nine, it is 3-1 on the map right there for a moment for DNA, and it feels like that's when you've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw that they sent 3 players after Bursty on that time, and Bursty, one of the best in the business at this support role, but 1v3 not going to go well. From there, they created the advantage, crashed to the middle, and look at this, Jordan, already. It looks like DNA going to be the first to get a checkpoint under their belt.
DNA clearing the checkpoint, trying to get to the second one. Sizable lead over Not FT Win. Here comes Elix, providing the backbone of support. That is, of course, that Stingray, and here it is. They're already here, Falco. You've got checkpoint 2. You've got a decent lead here now over Not FT Win. You gotta love the initial push.
You do. DNA made a fantastic push, getting all the way to 28. That made Not FT Win try and scramble to see where they can come back to. And now they have better control of mid, but they are going to have a response of their own if they want to keep up with DNA.
Just over 3 minutes left. Not FT Win trying to get back into this game. They have got control of the tower. 4-4 on the map. Make that 4-3 now advantage DNA. So a huge defensive stance here that DNA is going to have to take, 9.
Yeah, they're going to need a good defense here, and you see they've actually done a great job of stalling out here. The Kensa 52 with incredible survivability is going to be able to retreat, and all that time Jordan stalled it so that they could get their backliner back here. It's going to be that splatter scope, and you can already see that glowing Stingray ready if this gets out of hand.
And Falco, 3 specials ready to roll for DNA, but Not FT Win. They've got all 4 ready to roll. Feels like a critical juncture here in this game.
Yeah, Not FT Win approaching that first checkpoint. They are going to need to use their specials, and it looks like they do. They are now at this first checkpoint, getting on and off this tower, trying to avoid the Stingray, and 3 players are going to go down from DNA.
And you've got the pressure applied by DNA. You saw right there the Booyah Bomb and the Stingray. So far, Not FT Win. They can't get through this first checkpoint, trying to finally push their way through it. Feels like they'll clear it here, so now 9, DNA, here comes the test of this game.
Yeah, this is the moment here. Shaq's in a great position to try to break through here. Keep an eye on the top of the screen. Those points coming off very, very quickly. It does look like they got the people they needed to defend. That will be the end of the push. Once again, this is why getting past that first checkpoint quickly is such a big deal. All the time they had to set up their defense the way they wanted. They were happy to give up that checkpoint if it meant they kept the lead.
A gigantic stop for DNA. They still have a 4-point lead, under a minute and a half left, but you see the way that they were able to stop Not FT Win. Now it is 4-4 on the map. 2 of those specials ready to go for DNA. They're just trying to make sure they can play a little offense here, Falco. You love to see it. They're not happy just sitting back playing it safe.
No, they know they need to try and get past the second checkpoint if they want a more secure advantage. And there's going to be a nice splashdown, nice splash on splat, and a nice pick too by Dark. Now they're going to be pushing up and aiding with this tower, approaching the second checkpoint with 1 minute remaining.
And Dark, you saw the double splat, and here they go. DNA trying to add to their lead, under a minute left. DNA pushing towards the goal. They want to land a haymaker for the knockout, but they get stopped right there. And here's the chance for Not FT Win. 9, they are running out of time. They're going to have to play very precise throughout the rest of this game.
They're going to have to play so precise, and on top of that, they, first of all, just have to get a clear field here to play on. Now that they've at least secured that, it becomes the battle of the Stingray. You know that the Stingray is going to come up here to stop you. They're going to try to stop you at that checkpoint here. Everything you do at this point has to be predicated on getting to that Stingray user before it reaches that point.
You see the specials dousing DNA side of the map with yellow ink, and Not FT Win. Don't count them out yet. 10 seconds left, but you have the feeling you're going to head to overtime here. 4-3 advantage for Not FT Win. Trying to get through this final checkpoint. 2 members on top of the tower. Oh, but there comes that splatter bomb that goes ahead and takes them down. And then one more chance to Booyah Bomb. Is it enough? Not FT Win trying to push through. And they hit the brakes. And how about the defense by DNA 9? Unbelievable finish to this game by DNA.
I would love to see an instant replay of that last moment. I think that had they not had the ink armor, they might have actually gotten the lead there. That splashdown came at the very end. 1 player remaining, T, had the ink armor up with just 1 point. If you eat that damage and survive just a little longer, you might get the lead off of that. Instead, pinballed off the tower. And what an amazing way to start our event today.
And that's a huge win right there, Falco. You talk about a confidence booster for DNA. They come out and they're able to stop Not FT Win not once, but twice there in the second half of this game to make sure they secure their lead. And you have to love the way they stayed aggressive towards the end to build their lead, because if they don't do that, I don't think they win this game.
Oh, absolutely. DNA did a great job building their specials, knowing that Not FT Win was going to push, coming at full force, trying to get past that checkpoint and taking the lead. But DNA, just the perfect defense, perfect special usage to prevent that cap.
So DNA picking up the first game. This is best of 3, mind you, so it will be interesting here, 9, to see what game mode Not FT Win goes with. And if you are DNA, you have a chance to go ahead and possibly choose the same map. So again, first team to win 3 games. Obviously, is going to win the best of 5 here in semifinals to move along. DNA picking up that one crucial win already, 9.
Yeah, and this is kind of the interesting point because I would say that both of these teams traditionally have been very strong on tower control. So, and, you know, presumably a 9-8 game at the very end would tell you that both of these teams are indeed strong on it. So this really can set the tone for the rest of the set, as you alluded to. Also very curious where we're going to be heading next.
And of course, it's going to be that losing team that'll get a chance to change the game mode. But DNA, we'll see if they want to stay in Sturgeon Shipyard. And really what you like to see, and we keep referencing it here, Falco, they get the lead with the initial push, DNA does. And after one stop, they decide to play even more offense. And it really felt like they timed their specials up well. Every single moment where it felt like not FT Win was threatening, you saw 2, maybe even 3 specials ready to go for DNA.
Yeah, DNA knew that not FT Win was going to come in at full force. The game lasts 5 minutes and it went into overtime. So you have all this time that you have to think, okay, they're going to have many opportunities to try and push forward. We can't let loose. We have to come in and try and stop them. And again, that's exactly what they did. They had a lot of time. They had 7 points remaining to allow not FT Win to try and approach them. But still, they did a great job in preventing that. And now with not FT Win having a counter pick of their own, you got to wonder what DNA is running through their mind.
And we talked about it at the top here, 9. At those critical moments where you know that there's a situation that's most likely going to decide what's going to happen in this particular game, DNA was there. They had the bodies on the map, and they had the specials ready to go in order to play defense when they needed to.
And one of the wonderful things about defense is, and like you said, we alluded to this at the start of the show, you know what the opponent has to have in order to break through. So you can relent a little bit, fall way back, knowing that FT Win has to come to you if they want to prevent your long-range specials from stopping their push. You relent back a little bit, they have to come to you, you pick them off there, and eventually they're going to run out of people to throw at you. They timed it up about as perfectly as you can, 2 points separating victory from defeat.
So, Falco, we're going to have Rainmaker on Walleye Warehouse, and so this is always a really exciting and possibly quick game that can happen. What do you think comes to mind when you look at this map and mode? What are these teams thinking about most?
Yeah, so this is a more narrow map than what we have seen before. So we may see things like Tentamissiles, Stingrays are going to come in handy. And with having that narrow map, there's not a lot of room on the sides that you can try and get some flanks. So these teams are going to have to keep their communication up and call out where these members are.
And you mentioned a narrow map here. Does that change the loadout for some of these teams here, 9? Are they still going to stick with their main weapon, or do you possibly go with something else because this map is so narrow?
Yeah, I think Falco said it perfectly here. If you've got someone who is proficient with the Stingray, this is the time to bring it out here. You can sit wherever you'd like on this map and be a threat to extend the push. Of course, Tentamissiles, Ink Armor, we've seen it all before. And I don't expect we'll see too much change. Maybe some slight nuances. Maybe T-switching over to the custom Jet Squelcher as opposed to the vanilla Jet Squelcher that we saw in that last game, but I would expect more of the same.
And obviously, this is a tough one to get a knockout on, Falco, because there is just so much happening right near spawn when you get a chance to possibly dunk that Rainmaker. So it really feels like any team that can possibly just get that knockout or get as close to it. Oh, and look at this. This will be interesting here because you see right now only 3 members of, I believe it's going to be not FT Win on the map. If it is a disconnect in the first 5 seconds, you go ahead and re-rack the action. So we'll go ahead and get this thing lined up once again and get everybody in their positions back in the starting blocks here. But going back to this map, it's a hard one to get a knockout on, Falco. It really feels like we're going to have more back and forth like we saw in Tower Control just recently.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, like you said, the podium is pretty close to spawn. So right when a Rainmaker gets close to spawn, you're throwing everything you possibly have. You're throwing all of your sub-weapon. You're trying to pop that barrier as soon as you can, trying to splat the enemies who are inside of the barrier or inside the barrier explosion range, and to try and push that Rainmaker out because it can get very dangerous.
We were talking about advancing the tower, 9. When you're trying to advance the Rainmaker, what do you need from your teammates surrounding you to make one of those quality pushes here?
Well, it's what you need the other team to not be, and that is out of their spawn. You really want to try to get at least 2 or 3 down if you make one of these big pushes. Maybe the last member is off on some other side of the map doing their thing. So I think that especially on a map like this, there are certain points where if you can get past that point, you can really set up a basic defense, use bombs wisely, and go from there. I do want to call out, though, and Falco, I'll toss to you on this one. Kill brought out a Tentatek splatter shot, and that is that Inkjet special that we haven't talked about at all, but it's going to be very, very useful in trying to break through stalemates here.
Use bombs wisely. I saw what you did there. Don't think for a second you slid that by anybody, Knight. Sorry, go ahead, Falco.
No, it certainly is, and it's not a special that we see all the time anymore. But again, that's the special that you're going to try and push to push players back more so. You know, you're going to try and focus in on one player. Hey, who's going to be trying to contest my Rainmaker carrier? I need to take them out first because they're our biggest threat.
And of course, controlling the Rainmaker is important too, and putting that pressure on being able to pop the Rainmaker shield, that's huge as well too, Falco, because a lot of times when things are reset back to the neutral game, if you want to use a fighting game reference, whatever team can clearly control that Rainmaker shield, that in and of itself applies some extra pressure on the opponent.
Yeah, and it certainly does, and that's something we'll see these players do towards the end of the game if they have the lead. A lot of the times they'll want to get this barrier very big, but they don't necessarily want to have to pop it. They want to have their enemy teams work extra hard for them to get the Rainmaker.
So once again, as we get set for Rainmaker and Walleye Warehouse, we had a brief little disconnect before the game even started, so we'll get things going again between Not FT Win and DNA. But Not, I go back to DNA picking up that first game. That's got to be a huge confidence boost, and they really did what they needed to from start to finish to close that game out.
They really did, and we said at the start that this is a team that can take one small opening a long way. They're some of the fiercest fighters, especially in those engagement situations where you really need to find a fight that you might not otherwise be able to win. They did exactly that, and I don't think it's a coincidence at all that they got past the first checkpoint so quickly and then immediately pushed it down all the way to that 8 point. This is their MO, this is what they've always done, and frankly, they've done it against this level of competition. They've just never been able to close out a set.
Falco, a lot of folks watching this, they want to obviously get to this point that DNA and Not FT Win is at. Take us through the mind of one of these players when they have that golden Rainmaker in their tentacles and they're trying to move forward here. Where are you aiming your shots at? What are you trying to do as far as helping out your teammates? Because it's more than just, hey, shoot some ink and make sure I cause chaos. What are they thinking about in that position?
Yeah, sometimes they want to shoot some ink and push forward and try and paint the ground, but you're also trying to push your opponents back. The Rainmaker is a very powerful weapon that you can choose in this game. So if there's a player who has very good aim who typically uses a backline weapon, it's kind of similar to maybe like an Explosher. If you have a player who's very good at that weapon, that's going to be good for them to use. And I know some players are better at using the Rainmaker than me. A lot of players are actually. So, you know, a lot of players like to use it as their main weapon choice, but when they are comfortable with it, it's just going to make it that much easier for their team.
And then that brings up a really good point. Do you want typically your backliner to scoop that thing up, or is it closest person nearby, grab it? There's got to be some strategy as far as which team member you want to control that.
Yeah, typically you'll see whoever is your ink armor user be the one that grabs it. They'll use their ink armor to send everybody else forward. They'll grab the Rainmaker at that point and follow behind their supercharged teammates. But Jordan, you and I have played enough and lost enough Rainmaker with each other to know that there are times where the goal line's right there. You got to grab it and go. You may be the lineman and you might not be the ball-hawking cornerback, but if it's there, you got to grab it and go. And that's one of the things that makes this mode so dynamic.
Yeah, once again, we're getting set for Not FT Win and DNA to get things rolling here. And you saw at the win and loss screen afterwards that you had everybody at X rank. And Falco, for folks that are playing at a competitive level, many of them are at X rank, but there are some people here that are still trying to get there possibly. From your experience, what do you notice about these players that are able to get to X rank? What is it about them individually that really stands out in their skill set?
Yeah, it's about game awareness and knowing where to position yourselves and knowing where to spot the enemies. When we play ranked mode, you can't verbally communicate with your teammates. So that's something different than what these players are doing now, where they're all likely talking to each other. But you just need to be aware of the weapon that you have and what role you have when you're playing the game.
And that's what it really seems to come down to, Nine, is that game awareness, right? Understanding when you make a push, when you use the special, and being able to do that without communicating is one thing, but then you add in the communication element of getting 4 teams together. It seems to be that you can't just slap 4 talented players together. There has to be some chemistry and communication that helps elevate them.
Absolutely. It's one of those multiplicative things instead of additive. If you get a team like not FT Win back in their original heyday when they had all of their players, they were able to beat teams of players who might have more individually skilled players simply because their coordination was that good. And this is too fast of a game to be reactionary. You have to have the awareness to know where the pushes are coming from before they start.
All right, the long-awaited drum solo as we get set here. We have got Rainmaker and Walleye Warehouse. Not FT Win in the yellow, DNA in the blue or purple, depending on how you see it. Both teams advancing towards the middle. And Falco, looking at these loadouts, anything that stands out to you with either one of these teams?
You know, 9 referenced this earlier, but we do see the Tenatech splatter shot with the Ink Jet. So that's going to be something that not FT Win wants to use to try and push forward.
All right, an early look at T as they brew up a Stingray and applying instant pressure. DNA losing 1 member as not FT Win, still letting the Rainmaker sit at the middle. It feels like here, 9, not FT Win is trying to get everybody in position before they start moving around.
And here it is. We said it already. I love it when a plan comes together. Kyo immediately pushing forward is going to get taken down on the recall from a nice shot from Helix, who actually gets another player. Helix may have just stopped this one from going all the way to the teens and potentially even further. And this poor Stingray is really not going to have a great target, but why not? Get it across the map. Infinite range.
And you see right there, Helix taking care of business against Kyo, and will pick up the Rainmaker. And just like that, DNA flexing the defensive muscle we saw before. Helix surrounded by some of their teammates, and quickly, not FT Win, you see here Falco making sure they cover a lot of the turf in front of their half of the map.
Yeah, and that's exactly why DNA is trying to push this right side. They knew if they were going towards the middle, not FT Win would try and get these splats, but look at all these DNA players trying to protect the Rainmaker, and the Rainmaker's still alive, but we see not FT Win coming around the side and taking them down.
Yeah, you saw it right there, 9. DNA stuck in a bit of an aquatic mine of yellow ink, just could not get out of there. Now it's an opportunity for not FT Win to kind of reset this game.
Yeah, the remaining members of DNA actually did a really good job of being nuisances there, and Luke gets a really important pick on kill. That's going to mean that the members of FT Win aren't going to be able to come back and take the center of the map for free. These Kenta 52 gals are going to do their thing, but look at this, a jump out, and there's an opportunity for another push if they so choose.
They've got to hustle and get to that Rainmaker, obviously in a very tight corner there, but you see DNA able to burst the shield, and however, that is going to be a key pick for not FT Win, and Kyo gets another one. How about that, Falco?
Yeah, this is actually looking very nice for not FT Win because this Rainmaker is in a very tricky spot for DNA to pick up, which is why not FT Win now picked it up as they're going to try and extend their lead. But we do see the Ray coming out from the side of DNA, and it's actually going to take the Rainmaker down, and the Rainmaker is now going to be back at mid.
Booyah bomb ready to go here for Luke, and you see Luke at this moment trying to move forward here. Rainmaker in possession of DNA, and here is Landon trying to advance it, and right now 4-3 on the map for DNA, and so DNA striking back, taking the lead, and they are stopped just short of the podium. What a push by them, 9.
Yeah, incredible stuff, and this is the point total that you really want to be at. How about even better, a knockout though? Another frontliner was still there, and a crazy shot at Kyo at the end to get it done. But Jordan, we said this earlier, DNA is a team that only needs one opening. Once they get the momentum going, once they get excited, this is what it looks like, and this is against some of the best competition that you can find.
Must be something about the genetics, because DNA now 2-0 advantage over not FT Win, and it was crazy there, Falco. Felt like not FT Win had control of that game for the most part, but then DNA, as 9 said, just needed one moment, and some of those critical picks, along with the defense they played at the beginning of the game, set them up for success once again.
Certainly, and that just goes to show the fast pace of Rainmaker and making sure you want to have a player advantage and applying that pressure and keeping that pressure up even when you get the lead. You want to try and secure that knockout, and that's exactly what DNA did.
So 9, not FT Win. They're down 0-2. Backs against the ropes. It might be not playing much longer after this if they don't turn things around here. How do they respond? Because it really hasn't looked like they've been dominant at any moment the last 2 games. And we're not being harsh at all. It's just we have seen the caliber of some of their players here, and this is unlike what we typically see from them.
It is, and they're just the moments where you would expect to see the coordination that FT Win was traditionally known for, that this current iteration hasn't quite been able to pull together. There was a moment where Kill was pushed really far ahead of the Rainmaker there, trying to set up maybe a pick, trying to make sure that they couldn't set up that Stingray, and got taken out a little quick, maybe revealed the position a little bit too soon. There's just these slight disconnects, and when you're up against players of this caliber, that's all it takes.
Yeah, it will be fascinating here whether or not they go with Clam Blitz or if they go with Splat Zones. But at this point, it almost feels like you've got to feel pretty good. Of course, if you're DNA here, Falco, you're up 2-0, but you can choose the map, which that's going to be huge once you know what the game mode might potentially be.
Certainly, and I know that's definitely crossed the DNA's mind, and they're looking forward to it. So yeah, just like you said, we have to wait for not FT Win's mode counter pick, and then DNA will see what we'll see what they can do from there.
And 9, obviously, you can't win championships without defense, and that's part of their, hate to say, DNA for DNA so far in these first 2 games, is that they have just been so good at getting stops against not FT Win when it feels like not FT Win's going to threaten with a knockout. It's been critical, and that's really what you're looking for from these championship teams. When they need to make sure they stop the other team, they're able to do it.
And they've done a great job of picking maps that favor them, too. That last map there, you saw exactly what Helix on that splatter scope was able to do. Knowing that there's an uninkable narrow surface that the opponent has to come down, that's exactly what you want in a game of Rainmaker if you have the Charger on the map. So I'll be very interested in seeing where they counterpick and if they continue to play to the strengths of their backline.
Well, the good news is that counterpick just came in. It will be Splat Zones at New Albacore Hotel. And looking at this combination here, Falco, what comes to mind?
Yeah, backline weapons. I mean, there's a lot of greats on this stage where having range is definitely going to come in handy. So yeah, I imagine we're going to see longer range weapons.
And with the Splat Zones, this is one of those games, 9, where you definitely want to get out to a fast start because it can be a quick knockout as soon as you can take control of that zone. And then, of course, after that, you want to advance forward. But is that kind of hard on this map when you have those grates that you must traverse to get to the other opponent's side?
I will say what makes it hard on this map is because it's very easy to overextend. When you get 4 down, your first instinct is to, hey, let's move forward here. Let's ink up on the sides of the map. Let's try to get them as they drop in from spawn. But in doing so, you expose yourself when you might not need to necessarily. And that's why backliners tend to be so strong on this map. You can contest zone and force the enemy back without ever worrying about overextending at any risk to yourself.
And that's a really good point, Falco, because when you are overextending and you're trying to split the troops up in 2 different sizes, you can really open yourself up for the opponent to kind of bounce back here. So we'll see how it goes. We're getting set. Splat Zones. New Albacore Hotel. Cannot FT Win pick up a game, or will DNA get the sweep? And we'll take a look at the loadouts once again. And Falco, we'll go to you again. Anything different this time around?
We certainly do. We see the Deco and the 96 gal. So we have what we call quad shooters. Or no, I'm sorry, they have a blaster too. So very close to a quad shooter. But we do see the backline too on DNA. We see the E-leader.
And here it is, DNA taking an early lead, 87 to 100, and they've got a numbers advantage here, 9, so how about that? Not FT Win was able to get things back to neutral, but now all of a sudden DNA rolling with double the players on the map.
Yeah, they absolutely worked through that entire arrangement that Not FT Win had set up. They had split up their ranged players, and I think because of that, it was very easy for DNA to identify where they needed to attack, where the weakness was, and they've moved as a unit. Every time I look at this screen, there's at least 3 DNA members next to each other.
And DNA dancing around those Tenta missiles. You see the bubbles coming out, and still in control, DNA racking up the points and building the lead on this initial push. Not FT Win finally able to grab control of the zone, and now it's 3-3 on the map. We'll see if this is something that Not FT Win can do here, Falco, is secure the zone and then finally advance.
Yeah, they're doing a good job getting a few picks as they have a lot of paint around the zone. That's just as important as taking the zone. You want to make sure that the enemies don't have any opportunity to try and push forward. And with how this lockout is going for Not FT Win, they may be able to take the lead, but the rain from DNA is going to make it that much harder. But T getting some very good splats right now.
And it is T in the operating room, just surgical with the blaster right now. But you see Helix quickly putting an end to that, and now Helix trying to avoid some Tenta missiles backing up. But right now, it's Not FT Win that's got the lead. They have came storming back into this game here, 9, and finally DNA able to put the brakes on that push.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge shot there from Helix. An incredible shot. I didn't even see Kyo hiding there. That might have been enough for them. If Kyo was able to find one pick there, that might have been just enough. And again, a pick onto Kyo, just enough over damage to get through that ink armor as well. Another member of FT Win is going to go down, and Helix has almost single-handedly kept this in this game. And take a look at this, only a few more points, and they'll start scoring.
And Helix, just a one-person wrecking crew at this point, and it is DNA in full control. Not FT Win. They've got to scramble. If they lose this game, they are knocked out of the tournament. It will be DNA going to grand finals. Dark facing a 2-on-1, picks up one. Here comes the shield. Dark trying to dance around, and Dark, how about that, Falco?
Yeah, Dark doing a good job. Just look, that is going to be a full player wipe, and DNA is going to be walking into the grand finals.
Oh, it is curtains for not FT Win. 3-0 the sweep for DNA, and it is Dark turning the lights out on any championship hopes for not FT Win. And what we just saw there, 9, was an unbelievable one-person display of Splatoon perfection.
Yeah, and you'll see right there, the splats and assists number there, that's only 4, but all 4 of those were crucial. Again, I want to reiterate, they were sending everybody over to the right side when they were trying to get that push to take the zone again and stop not FT Win from getting the victory. Kyo was positioned pretty much perfectly, I guess, got called out at a certain point there, the flick went over and got the shot, and that, again, gave them the opportunity to make that counter push, and then from there, the range comp did its thing.
And really, Falco, just that 2-on-1 at the end where Dark, usually any player in that situation, you're getting splatted or you're retreating, but to pick both players at that moment, that right there might be one of the sequences of the entire tournament.
Yes, certainly. And I think, like you said, at that moment where it was the most important, getting very close to that knockout range, and that just sealed the deal for DNA and gave them the win.
Well, hopefully they clipped that and saved it to the Switch right there. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket here. DNA, huge upset, some might say. 3-0 the sweep over not FT Win. So all of a sudden, one of the favorites in this tournament goes down without picking up a single game. That'll now leave Super P and Ryu as far as who will meet DNA in the grand finals. But we're going to go ahead and step aside and take a quick break as we get set for the second set of semifinals. It's Event 3 of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Jordan, Kent, 9, and Falco. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Whether it's to play your favorite game, to play for school pride, or for the thrill of competition. Play competitively with Play Versus. Visit playvs.com today for more information.
In this house, we duel.
Nice try.
Here we go.
In their house, we duel.
KO. Yes!
In our house, we score.
That was awesome!
We love teaming up.
Play.
And we love a little competition.
Oh, it's okay. You got it next time. You got it next time.
Ready? Whether it's with family, friends, or rivals near and far.
This is the end.
Block, block, block.
Yes!
So whichever sport you choose, victory could be just within reach. You ready to play? Nintendo Switch Sports. Available now only on Nintendo Switch.
Brave warrior!
Warriors of Adrestia, the time has come to demonstrate the Empire's valor.
We strike at the Imperial Army today.
The party's already starting, huh? We have to figure out exactly where we stand in this war. Who knew the Ashen Demon had that kind of strength? I can't believe one fighter could turn the tide of an entire battle like that.
We'll claim victory over that monster together.
I have to keep fighting.
Dying is without productivity. Have you ever read any chivalric romance? I think they're a fascinating group of people myself, but what do you make of them?
Let's link up. Are you ready? Do try to keep up. Back at you. Best way to honor my fallen comrades is by training hard and growing even stronger. Where do these powers come from?
Power itself is neutral. The good or evil comes from the one who wields it.
One day that sword might overtake me, and I'll turn into a monster. Not so fast, you two.
Defeating the Ashen Demon. Everything starts from there. Like a dear partner in destiny. Like it's something we're meant to do.
I'll let my sword do the talking when I cut the Ashen Demon down.
And welcome back to Event 3 of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Jordan Ken alongside 9 and Falco. And we just saw a huge upset in semifinal number 1 as we go and check out the bracket. It was DNA making quick work of not FT win a 3-0 sweep and in dominant fashion. So that lines up Super P and Ryu getting set to find out who will face off against DNA in grand finals in 9 between Super P and Ryu. This is interesting. They've been in the last 2 events, but they haven't faced each other yet in this Inkopolis Showdown.
Yeah, viewers of this event are probably very familiar with these two teams at this point because they keep making the top 4, they keep getting close, but neither one of them has quite been able to close the deal yet. So to see them play against each other for the first time in this event is going to be very, very interesting.
Well, let's get a rules refresher because we always love following directions here. This will be the semifinal round. First to 3, best of 5, essentially. The team with the lower seed will choose the mode for the first game. The other team will choose the stage, but the important thing to remember, losing team will choose the next game mode. Winning team will choose the stage. You can repeat stages. You have to go through all the game modes first before you repeat again. So, Falco, what we saw in that previous semifinal matchup with DNA, really just some high-level play at critical moments from some of their players. We are still raving about the display we saw from Dark towards the end. A 1-on-2 situation, able to pick off both players for not FT win.
Yeah, it certainly was something that really sealed the deal for them. And I mean, if you would have asked them if they thought they were going to get a 3-0 victory over not F2N, I don't think they would have told you that that's what they thought they were going to do. So they've got to be feeling a very certain way. They've got to be very excited and looking forward to seeing who they're going to be facing in the grand finals.
Yeah, could have won a lot of power clams on that one there, 9. And so as we get set here, we'll figure out what we're going to see between Super P and Ryu. These two teams are obviously very familiar with this stage, so it's not going to feel rather large to them as far as being in the Final Four, but you look at these two teams, and it seems like with Super P, they can play so well during a game. But as we talked about it at the top, they're just looking for those 1 or 2 plays that we saw from DNA, right, to close out a game. Maybe today's the day.
Yeah, and believe me, it is not as easy as DNA made it look to get those scenarios. And one of the things that Super P, I think, has done so well over the course of all these tournaments they've played in is they've done a great job of adjusting their compositions. They've got a really versatile squad that can play with some of the range that we saw in the last Inkopolis Showdown, but they're also very, very capable at fighting with the best of them, and I think that versatility is going to prove a real test for Ryu.
Well, I've just received the game mode and map. It's going to be Clam Blitz on... Any guesses here, Falco? Any guesses at all?
You know, something tells me Sturgeon Shipyard.
You are correct. Yes. Sturgeon Shipyard, Clam Blitz coming up here. So take us through high-level strategy of Clam Blitz here. What are these players at the next level thinking about to make sure they can be successful while they try to collect these clams, get a power clam, fill in the basket, and walk away with a win?
Yeah, of course, you want to open their basket with a power clam, but it's not about scoring as many clams in as quickly as you possibly can. It's about extending the basket and making your enemies scramble and struggle. The longer you can keep their basket open, even when you still have clams that you can throw in, that's going to seal the deal and give you the win.
And we've seen a lot of creative, coordinated pushes when it comes to Clam Blitz here, 9. And this is one of those modes where when you have your hits, you have to connect, because that penalty, it's really hard just to get past the penalty if you don't have any other clams to support it.
Absolutely. Half of whatever you score in terms of points comes back to you as a penalty. So, like Falco said here, sometimes waiting for the best opportunity to make that push is what really ends up mattering in the long run.
Yeah, certainly a steep tax when it comes to the penalty here. All right, Super P in the yellow, Ryu in the blue or the purple, no matter how you see it. Sturgeon Shipyard, you know it, you love it. Let's go ahead, 9, and go to you for the loadout here. How much does that matter here in Clam Blitz, and anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, it certainly matters here. The one thing that I want to kind of note here is Ryu has brought with them a foil squeezer, and we saw that a little bit. Dark was using it in that last match to achieve that incredible 1v2 at the end. It's got the bubble blower, such a strong special. Some people love it, some people less so, but it is great for making those long sustained pushes last even longer.
3-2 advantage on the map for Super P. Now it is 2-2, and so far nobody has really threatened the basket at this point here, but you see an Ink Armor ready to go, and at this moment here, Falco, if you are Super P, it feels like you're just kind of baiting your time. You can really see this is kind of just an extended neutral game to start it. However, first power clam going to Super P here, Falco.
Yeah, it is an extended neutral game, but what's important is you can take part of the objective while it being a neutral game by trying to gather some of these clams. And now with a 1-player advantage, it looks like they're going to be pushing forward. With a 2-player advantage, Super P is going to be the first team to score.
Leo busting the basket open with that power clam, and they are pouring it in right now. Just an influx of clams filling the basket. Nice little push here, 47 points. We'll see. They try to save one more clam to extend that clock. No, they don't. But 9, a nice little lead. It's going to take more than 2 power clams for Ryu to answer back.
Yeah, and Leo has been a hero throughout these events so far. That Rapid Blaster Pro Deco, a weapon that has had a renaissance as of late in the competitive scene, so good at poking the opponents, doing little bits of chip damage, and getting picks from safe spots. That's what opened up that push, and look at this. They've once again got the resources to start another if they so choose.
You see Leo in that quarterback position with that power clam, just trying to find an opening, looking for that basket to pop into their sights. 4-3, though, advantage for Rio. It's going to be a little tough, so you see Leo backing up just a little bit, trying to avoid some of those Tenta missiles dancing through the ink raining down. And this is smart play here, Falco. If you don't have that opportunity to score, don't risk getting splat. Nothing wrong with retreating.
Absolutely, and when you have a power clam, you are the target from the enemy side. You are the player that they are trying to take out. We see Leo hasn't been able to even push forward to mid. They haven't had the teammate support to try and push forward, and Ryu is being a little more aggressive, trying to push forward and take out this power clam.
Yeah, just a wave of purple ink taking over the map at this moment. It's made it really difficult for Super P to advance, but how about the pick right there, 9?
Yep, Leo, we keep saying the name, and it's fitting that the camera's been on him the whole time, because in that scenario there, they had sent 2 players to go after the foil squeezer. The foil squeezer got them both, which stopped that push, but the patience of Leo paying dividends. They're going to be able to get through the checkpoint, get a few more points, and more than anything, have at least someone in mid, although Ryu pushing very quickly here on the counterpunch.
Yeah, he saw Super P on that push barely paying off the interest. However, it's going to be Ryu with the power clam of their own, a chance to move forward here. And let's go ahead and check out Kiwi. Kiwi with the basket in sight, 4-4 on the map. So a lot of traffic, but you've got 2 power clams on the map here. Possibly the opportunity for some deception here, Falco.
Yeah, they need to use that towards the advantage. Split up these power clams, make Super P struggle, make them guess which player they need to go to first. And because of that, Ryu's going to be getting a lot of map control at mid, especially with some of these missiles coming in now. And this is looking very good for Ryu, but Super P trying to use their specials, and now Ryu trying to go in. Will they get these power clams?
And you see Kiwi, right-hand side of your screen, able to sneak in there. Both power clams are able to break the basket, and then a third one comes in. So just like that, 1, 2, 3, Ryu takes the lead with just over a minute left here, 9.
And such a great sequence from Nick there. Nick was the member of the team that didn't have the power clam. The deception that Falco was alluding to there allowed Nick to move forward, but that entire time, Nick had 9 power clams to be able to pick those up and get another as the push continues to go. One more clam. Can anybody find it? Ricky grabs one. That's not going to be enough. Miku not going to try to rush forward and throw this one. It looks like the members of Super P were able to converge and get that pick as well. Take mid, but how's about that for a counter hit? Goodness gracious.
Unbelievable. Super P will need at least 3 power clams and 1 traditional clam if they want to take the win. Basically, they need a knockout to take this game. Ryu, an unbelievable push right there. 99 points to come roaring back to take the lead now. It's all about the defense here if you're Rio, Falco.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when you only have 15 seconds left, that can be good or bad. You're going to give Super P a chance to score. And because their basket was open, they will have a power claim that they can pick up. But now we see them trying to push forward, getting in a good position. And Synapse is going to be trying to form a power claim. It looks like they are. They are going to score. This is going to be overtime.
So you've got the 1 power clam in, dropping in. Here comes a second power clam. Super P is going to have to hustle. They've got 11 clams. They have the currency. Can they do it? Trying to fill the basket. Super P just a few deposits away, but that is going to be 4-1 on the map, and I don't think they're going to get there in time. Did Ryu do enough towards the end? And they do. So courtesy, a push like a Shoryuken to the chin. Ryu getting the win here, 9, and all it takes is that 1 push sometimes when it comes to Clam Blitz.
Whew, okay, I can exhale a little bit after a crazy scenario at the end where you know that both of the teams are trying to remain composed, but when one team has enough currency to take the lead back, it's so difficult not to immediately rush at them. Conversely, on the other side, when you have enough currency, you want to throw yourself at the basket and try to score all that you can. So both teams, I think, played that last scenario about as well as they could, but it just proved to be too much of a lead to surmount in overtime.
Yeah, it was crazy, Falco. Both teams were really just a couple of clams away from closing it out. We saw that, of course, with Super P. They had a chance right there to kind of make sure they took care of business, but it just wasn't enough. It was Ryu also 1 point away from the knockout, but that's what you love in Clam Blitz. Back and forth going into overtime. These are 2 equally matched teams, it feels like, and we're in for a very exciting semifinals.
Certainly, and as much as Ryu would love to get that knockout, they knew they had to shift to defensive mode very, very quickly, because it wouldn't really have mattered if they scored. They had 49 penalty points that they would have had to get through to get that knockout. That is a steep penalty.
Some very effective turtling down the stretch for Ryu. They're able to hold off Super P and take that very first game. So now Super P will get a chance to choose the game. We'll see if Ryu decides to go back to Sturgeon Shipyard. But what we saw, 9, was really Super P was in control for the majority of that game. It was just that 1 push that Ryu was able to get, and that's kind of how it goes in a lot of these game modes sometimes.
Yeah, and especially in Clam Blitz, where you have such a central thing you can focus on. 2 power clams on the opponent's side. If they try to push forward, you're gonna know. You're gonna be able to call out exactly where it was. But they also had 2 Tenta missiles that they used to open that up. And then, as we said, of course, Nick, the MVP, in that big push, was able to sneak through, won a 1v1, and then the entire time had 9 clams of their own to be able to stack up for another power clam. And I mean, you love it when a plan comes together, I'll say that.
And that's the difficult thing for Super P and kind of what we've talked about. Again, not harping on them here, Falco, but we see this. They can dominate a game for 4.5 out of the 5 minutes, but it's just that 1 30-second window at some point where the other team gets a big push. That's the opposite of what we saw from DNA that really was able to hold their ground every single time that they were getting threatened by not FT Win.
Exactly, and when you can control the pace of the objective in modes like Clan Blitz and Rainmaker, that's going to make you thrive. If you can control the map, basically, you're going to do very well.
So we have tower control, 9. Where do you think we're doing tower control at? Where do you think we're doing tower control at? Is it that spot right behind you?
Is it right behind me?
It's right behind you. We're going right back to Sturgeon Shipyard for tower control, and we saw this in the first semifinal between DNA and not FT Win here, 9. That second checkpoint, if you can clear that, you put a tremendous amount of pressure on the opponent.
You really do, and Kiwi is a player that we haven't necessarily talked about a ton, but Kiwi, one of the very best Bamboozler players in the business here, and that weapon plays at such a difficult range to displace, especially on a map like this. You don't need the full range of one of the longer chargers. Not that Kiwi can't play that, but if they so choose, they're going to be able to stick with the main weapon that they pioneered, and I'm not at all surprised to see him coming back here.
And that's what's fascinating about the winning team choosing the map. If you've got success in the loadout to dominate the map, why not rack it up again? So we'll see if Super P can bounce back and take a game from Ryu. Last game went to overtime here. And Falco, let's go ahead and give you the honors to talk about the loadouts here.
Yeah, I honestly don't think we changed much from this first game. So it's the same map, the same weapons, but just a different mode.
Live look at Miku right now, just trying to provide a little bit of support. Both teams building up their specials. You see the suction bomb followed up by some Tenta missiles. Miku trying to get out of that reticle there. And now it is going to be nobody's control of the tower at this point, really. Finally, Super P able to move it slightly, but they've got a 4-2 advantage on the map here, 9, and here's a chance for an early push for Super P.
Yeah, I think they gave up just a little bit too much from those Tenta missiles. You saw all 3 members were pushed back into this area that we often call the pit in competitive play. And because of that, they were able to get an Ink Armor up, and I mean, Juan ran straight forward their Ink Armor and said, do something about it. And so far, the answer, not been up to snuff.
So Super P blowing through that first checkpoint. Now they're already at the second one. It is 3-4 on the map, but so far they are camping out and just hopping off real quick to avoid those Tenta missiles. A second surge of Tenta missiles, and those were just enough to get the splat. So a key pick from the special for Ryu to go ahead and send that tower back to neutral. And Falco, a lot of times, that's what we talk about. Having those specials, especially when you're on defense, that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, and that was a great time, too, because Super P got to their second checkpoint. So if they would have gotten through that second checkpoint, it would have been even more difficult for Ryu.
Here is Ricky trying to apply a little bit of pressure on that splash wall. 4-4 on the map. Ricky has those bubbles ready to go, and now at this point, it is Super P advancing that tower, trying to threaten, and the Booyah Bomb catches him, 9.
Yeah, a bit uncharacteristic there. You kind of maybe wasn't entirely sure where the Booyah Bomb was getting thrown, moved back a little bit, but all in all, it's going to slow him down ever so slightly a little bit. And a bomb actually is able to take out Kiwi there, so some unforced errors here by Ryu, keeping this push alive for Super P.
Super P trying to get the knockout here. They have got the advantage. They've dominated for the majority of this game. It's now 2-2, and they're trying to make their way through the second checkpoint. But again, slow down, and another critical splat for Ryu. The defense continues to be there. Now, Falco, they've got to find a way to generate some offense here and move that tower.
They certainly do. Riki was doing a great job getting that flank and able to take the player down from the tower from behind. So Ryu now has more map control, and we haven't really seen that from them during this game. And they're going to actually be taking the tower for the first time halfway through, finally getting some points as they approach their first checkpoint.
You see Kiwi trying to get all members of Super P in their sights, able to get 3 out of the 4, and here they are finally getting to the first checkpoint, but some Tenta missiles will force Kiwi to hop off, then back on, and now it is 4-3 advantage. Super P on the map. Booyah Bomb not even close. And oh, just as they try to clear it, a critical splat there, 9. That's some solid defense.
Yeah, and that was a coin flip right there. Kiwi saying, come on, checkpoint. Stop. Just get past it there because, again, you laid it out perfectly. They needed to get past that if they wanted this second push to have any real staying power. So sometimes you guess wrong.
Ricky with the splat bomb splat. That is critical. 2-2 on the map. You see now Ricky just trying to back up a little bit, being pressured by that blaster, and down will go Ricky. And Super P, they have been in total control so far here, Falco. With a minute and a half, the question is, can they close it out?
Yeah, they're trying to maybe shift their mindset now. They want to keep applying this pressure, but they know they have a pretty secure lead, especially because they stopped Ryu at the very end of that first checkpoint. So if Ryu were to come back, they would have to get completely through that first checkpoint again.
And 9, you really like this constant flow of specials coming out from Super P. It almost feels like they're rotating specials and not necessarily stacking them, but at least having one coming up every 15, 20 seconds just to keep the pressure on against Ryu.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing here, and the reason it's working so well is, again, they're always rotating someone up to attack with this as well. You saw a special came out, and then suddenly they're attacking Kiwi. Kiwi has to back up, now they're attacking whoever is on that spinner there on the right side, and they've never been able to find their footing. They're going to need to take out 2 or 3 of these members of Super P if they want to even have an opportunity to get back to mid.
Super P trying to even things up at 1 game each in this best of 5 semifinal. They are just 30 seconds away. They are pushing it, trying to make their way through the last checkpoint. Looks like they've got a lot of time here, but here come those Tenta missiles, moving them off the tower, but they're able to get right back on, and they are looking for the knockout. They want to be greedy. Give them all the bacon in the tray as Super P gets the knockout, and they will go ahead and even things up 1 apiece against Ryu, and that is exactly 9, the type of game we've been talking about from Super P, a start-to-finish dominant performance.
Yeah, and this is why they keep counterpicking to this map, right? This is what it looks like here. They clearly have a great understanding of when the opponent relents on their defense of this portion of the map, we push here. It's not a matter of asking, it's not a matter of seeing, it's knowing. I use my special there, now I move here. And because of that, they're able to create that constant deluge of pressure that we had kind of talked about there. And it's why they make it look so easy. It's coordination beyond what's simply communicated. It's true game awareness.
So this will be interesting now because it's going to be up to Super P to choose the map. And our 2 modes remaining are Rainmaker and Splat Zones before we can reset the game modes here. And you know, you really like what you saw from Super P here, Falco. They were just consistently applying the pressure on offense and always made sure, as 9 said, they were rotating someone up to attack every time they unleashed a special.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. All 4 of their players had double-digit splat and assists, and we even saw 10 missiles from their Kansas splatter shot.
You gotta love all the 10 missiles, right, 9? And so now at 1 game apiece here, it feels like Super P is maybe gone on to discover something here for the most part, but don't count out Ryu yet. We saw what Ryu was able to do with that 1 solid push. It feels like 9, though, if Super P can always make sure they have got something ready to go with a special when they're on defense, they can avoid some of those lapses where they give up that big push.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially on specific modes and specific maps, that can be even stronger. It really does, again, depend on where you're able to set up the people who are trying to defend, who are trying to attack, and vice versa.
Well, as we continue along on the Sturgeon Shipyard Championships, we have Splat Zones coming up next on the map here. As you look at Splat Zones here, as 9 just shakes those nice Auburn locks here. The Splat Zones here, it's obviously getting in, getting out, and then pushing the opponent out further here, but the rotation of this map can change things here just a little bit, Falco.
Yeah, it certainly can. And I mean, these teams have had a lot of practice on this stage, especially with these 2 teams playing in the Inkopolis Showdown in the previous few weeks. So a lot of practice, and hey, they're both ready for it, I guess.
Yeah.
So Sturgeon Shipyard quickly becoming the Augusta National of Splatoon 2, it feels like, as we get set for another game mode here. And, you know, really what we saw last time in Splat Zones before DNA and not FT win was a lot of back and forth, but making sure you can win some of those one-on-ones, or in the case of Dark, one-on-twos here, 9, when you've got the zone and the other team is threatening. It feels like more modes than any other, this is where the one-on-one play is critical.
Well, especially if you're able to force those by way of using missiles or some other special to separate the opponent. And especially on this map where you have some areas of a little bit more height than what we saw on New Albacore. It's a wide map, but it's not necessarily a tall map. Here on Sturgeon Shipyard, you're going to see a couple members go up to what we call that spinner area on top of some of the grading, maybe even under the zone if necessary. Makes it that much more difficult to keep together and keep composed on the defense.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be fascinating is how well can these teams hold the zone down, because Falco, there's a lot of different ways you can approach the zone safely, and if you're trying to advance and push forward, it's hard to lock down all those access ways to the zone. So really, what are you thinking about once you secure the zone and you're now trying to keep the other team out? Where do you think is the best spot on this map to make sure you're not letting the other team come in?
You know, it really depends on the weapon that you're choosing, and I think what's important too is figuring out where to use your specials. You don't really want to be out in the open when you use those tentamissiles, when you use the rain either. So you just need to get in a position that works for you, works for your weapon, and that way you can call out to a teammate, hey, this person is approaching this side, can you take care of them? And again, that's what you need to do.
And I think that's why a lot of people really like this map here, 9, is because you really can't just cut off one point and say, all right, you're not getting through here. There's always a way to apply pressure. So we'll see how both these teams do. And I'm going to toss it to you, 9. Anything differently you see with this loadout here for Splat Zones?
Well, one is gone with the Tri-Slosher. This is a weapon that has been so beloved, or maybe not so beloved, depending on who you are, but it's a weapon that's been used since the very, very beginning of this game, and it's great. It does provide ink armor, but it also provides a lot of chip damage with those burst bombs, and if you let that thing get some steam, it can really put the hurt on you.
Ryu quickly acquiring the zone, but they are down 4-2, and all of a sudden they lose control. Super P quickly trying to reclaim the zone. They plant their flag in the middle of it, and now Super P in control, and here's where they're looking at right now. It feels like a lot right now, Falco, they're not trying to push forward too much. They just kind of want to create a nice little perimeter right by the zone.
Exactly. They're not pushing up too far. They don't want to put themselves in a position where they get picked off very easily. But Ryu now's coming in with some great aggression. But Super P, like you said, doing a great job just trying to hold them down and getting those picks.
And Ryu still unable to claim the zone, so Super P with a really nice opening push here. They're going to get more than 50 points already, make that 60, building a huge advantage under 4 minutes left. And right now, 9, it doesn't look like Ryu's threatening from anywhere.
No, a chef's kiss to that defense. You saw 2 specials come in, the members of Super P backed up, and just as they'd expected, Ryu ran right into their defense. So one step ahead in every regard right now. As we get down to just 10 seconds left, that was all the specials. Kiwi's gonna try to make a play happen, but there's already somebody attacking them. It's just Kiwi left, and my goodness, if you blinked, you missed it.
I was just going to say the same thing. Super P with arguably the most dominant performance we've seen here today, making really quick work of Ryu. And just like that, Super P, after dropping the first game, they're up 2-1 in this semifinal and just 1 game away from taking on DNA. And what we saw there, Falco, I think was just a masterclass in how you play Splat Zones in Sturgeon Shipyard. You don't want to advance yourself too far forward, because if you do, now teams can get behind you with all the different ways they can access the zone.
Certainly. Like you said, they did great, and Ryu only had 2 splats and assists on their entire team.
Wow.
If Super P were to extend forward a little more, they probably could have gotten a few more, so it's great that they knew exactly what they needed to do to get that knockout.
So the pressure now is on Ryu here, 9, and we have to go with Rainmaker, and you have a feeling it's probably going to be Sturgeon Shipyard. We'll confirm that here in a second, but it feels like Super P has really figured something out here over the last 2 games, as far as just they step on the gas and they do not let go at all, and it just feels like it's too much for Ryu to handle for the majority of these games.
And that last game, whenever you see a Splat Zones game be that dominant at this level, it almost always is because, like we said, you're 1 step ahead. You know that if they use their ink armor and their tentamissiles, they're going to attack. It's not going to be delayed. You know they're going to pick one way and go. And there were a couple times where it looked like the members of Ryu attacked 2 or 3 members of Super P at one time. Whenever that happens, there's a miscommunication, because you'd almost never want to do that willingly.
We will be playing Rainmaker on Muscle Forge Fitness. So a little change of scenery here as we get set. And yes, 9, I know you're pumped here after another climbing session. And looking at Muscle Forge Fitness here, Falco, this is obviously not the largest map, and you've got a lot of different alleyways that you can go, and of course the big mound in the middle. What do you make of Rainmaker on this map?
Yeah, a lot of teams tend to take it up this right side and work together as a team, but there are opportunities where you can push the Rainmaker on the rail on the left side if you want to try and get a very sneaky push.
And of course, there's going to be a lot of action happening here, 9. For the most part, it still feels like that team that can get that first initial push with the Rainmaker and have the option of playing offense or defense, that's going to go a long way here on Muscle Forge Fitness.
Yeah, the pushes tend to go a long way here, and oftentimes you'll see games end with both teams in the 30s or the 20s or even the teens, and really it does come down, oftentimes I see on this map, to unforced errors. Somebody leading their Tenta-missiles into a teammate, which you're well acquainted with, Jordan,
yes.
or somebody going into a bomb that isn't necessary. And that's, again, one of the reasons why these compressed maps, especially that alleyway that Falco alluded to, make this so scary. You know missiles are coming. You know people are going to be throwing their suction bombs around. So minimizing those mistakes oftentimes means you'll at least have a decent hold on the push before it can get too devastating.
Super P just one game away from moving on to Grand Finals. Can Ryu force a Game 5? We'll find out. We're going to go for a quick little workout here at Muscle Forge Fitness and some Rainmakers. Both teams make their way to the middle, and right now it feels like the sprint is going to be in favor of Ryu. Nick trying to go ahead, apply some pressure, and it's Ryu that bursted open first. And however, they take the 3-2 advantage, Falco. Here's the chance for Ryu.
Yeah, Ricky grabbing the Rainmaker and having that 3-player advantage is going to be great, and it looks like they will be taking it up this right side. Miku is going to be trying to go towards mid, making sure that no players are going to drop down. Ryu in a very good position. They have approached the 42, still getting 2 players, and Ricky pushing up. Is this going to be a very quick KO? No, they are going to go down with 13 remaining.
Yeah, Ryu stopped in the key before they could get to the hoop here, and here is Leo trying to push forward, and now it is 4-2 on the map for Super P, and Leo just hanging out right now at the moment. Here comes some Tenta missiles for support, and it was some nice defense here, 9, but Super P, they have got a very high hill to climb here. You basically have to get a knockout to win this game.
Yep, and I mean, this is Muscle Forge Fitness Rainmaker. It's why people tend to enjoy it here, amongst the people who enjoy Rainmaker, because again, all you need is one advantage in terms of how the push starts, and you can really start to snowball this and stagger the opponent's spawn. You get great access to it, and most of the other time, you're going to see a lot of this. People throwing bombs at mid, trying not to go down to one of those unforced errors, and they've done a great job of exchanging so far.
Nick caught in a tough place there between a Booyah bomb and some Tenta missiles, but able to pick up the pick against Super P. But here comes Leo at this point, moving the Rainmaker, and Super P trying to get their first points of the game, and looks like they're going to go up this right-hand side as well too, Falco.
They are, but there's somebody trying to get them from behind, but no, they are able to take out the end zap. And once again, 3 players down. Is this going to be a repeat of what we just saw? No, they're going to get closer to the podium. Are they going to get the knockout? No, getting all the way to 5.
Stuffed at the rim while trying to dunk a volleyball right there, 9. They almost had it, but it's Super P that now holds the keys to this game here. 5-13 as far as the score. Both teams really making quick work on these pushes, but it's going to be very tough for Ryu to come back in this one because you saw such a quick response by Super P, 9.
Yeah, and unbelievable there. The camera had panned away there. I feel like Synapse may have gotten a 1v2 up there at the top. It looked like the push was going to stop before it could really even get going. But Synapse, one of the finest players of that Kensa 52 gal in the game, able to push forward for the team. And now going to have to get some creativity from Ryu if they want to get this push going.
Ricky unable to get the pick, but applying some pressure. There you go. Takes care of business against Synapse. And Ricky moving around to the left-hand side of the middle of the stage and feeling a little bit of pressure, backing up. 3-3 on the map. Just over 2 minutes left here. Lead for Super P. And let's see if Ryu can organize here right now, Falco, and get something going. But it just seems like, once again, Super P, they've got to find something to make sure that they can play a little defense here. You can't give up the lead at this moment.
That's right, and Super P is doing a great job just controlling this mid area and keeping this Rainmaker exactly where it is. Ryu is having a very hard time trying to break in. They're going to need to build their specials, use them, push in, try and pick up this Rainmaker, but at the same time, Super P knows that's what they're going to be doing, and they have 2 specials of their own.
And you see the pick on the left-hand side, Juan going down, so now that's going to be a 4-3 advantage for Ryu. Here is Nick getting a little bit of help from that Ink Storm, able to retreat before they get splatted. Suction bomb coming down. Nick trying to go around the barrier here at the moment for a little cover. Oh, gets picked off by the blaster and the 52 gal. Nice little 1-2 combo. So we'll see here. 9. If you're Super P at this point, you have to continue to think offense. You can't relax and just strictly focus on getting stops. As, oh my goodness, Synapse going on an absolute tear.
I mean, this is exactly what we said earlier. One of the finest players with this weapon. How's about another one to keep the streak going? But it just seems like right now the members of Ryu are a little bit disconnected. When Nick was making that attack, there was nobody else to assist with that. Jumped into 2 players, and now finally when the scramble situation starts, Synapse knows where everybody is.
So Synapse just putting in absolute work and dominating at about the 1 minute mark is going to force Ryu to really have to do something special here. 30 seconds left. Super P with the Rainmaker, and now it's going to be very difficult for Ryu. They've got 3-3 on the map, 2 specials ready to go here, but that Rainmaker in that spot, it's going to be tough just to burst it here at this moment. Very difficult situation for Ryu, isn't it, Falco?
It certainly is, and like you said, just about 10 seconds left when you know you're trying to face a player who already has 14 splats in assists, but this is going to be Ryu's last opportunity to take down the Rainmaker. It looks like they're going to be opting to take it on this right side as we now start overtime. Some specials are now being used, and Ryu members are all split up. Some have even pushed farther up towards the right, but there is a path that's created for them. They're going to have to wait for this Ryu bomb to go through. Miku is now there to help support, and now members of Super P are trying to respawn and get back here.
Ricky trying to be the hero. Ryu trying to keep their tournament hopes alive. Ricky has to push forward. They're trying to make some room. Here is Nick and Kiwi providing some support. We're in overtime. No room for mistakes. Ricky trying to push forward. That blaster trying to keep them at bay. Still hanging on. Oh no, Ricky is starting to get caught in the corner. Super jumping coming in. Here comes Miku. Here is the splash wall coming up. Ricky just hanging on here. An unbelievable view of a team scrambling for their lives, but no, looks like Ricky's gonna face a 2-on-1, and that will do it. And 9 finally cornered in the maze. You gotta applaud the effort by Ryu, but Super P able to do just enough down the stretch on defense. What an exhilarating finish to that game.
And it is so rare that over the course of one push, you will see 3 members all get splatted, super jump back in, and then all get splatted again. Typically, the game ends before that can happen, but that just shows you all you need to know about the patience of Super P and the composure of Super P. To understand, it's okay if we go 1 down as long as it's a trade. We have the numbers advantage. That Rainmaker cannot get through. They have to knock it out in order to win. Eventually, the timer's going to run out, or we're going to take it out. Let's just sit back. We don't need to make the unforced errors. They did a great job, and, well, they've been here before. Grand Finals, Super P.
And Falco, really the word that comes to mind is discipline during overtime for Super P. They did not panic, and they really made sure they provided that consistent pressure. And you saw there were openings there, but as soon as they opened up, they shut them off so quickly, and so you have to applaud the efforts of Super P down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the patience of Ryu, too. I don't know how much time was left on that Rainmaker, but I can't imagine that there was much time left because Super P just came in at the end and swarmed them and got the win.
Let's go ahead and check out the updated bracket now that Super P has been able to take care of business against Ryu after dropping the very first game. They win 3 straight, and it'll be DNA versus Super P, and you get the sense that you're watching Super P improve in front of your eyes. We'll see if they can get that elusive championship. We'll go ahead and step aside for a moment, but when we come back, Grand Finals, best of 7, first team to 4, DNA versus Super P. We'll bring you all the fun as we continue along on event number 3 for the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022.
Oh, baby!
Greetings trainers! This July, it will be 1 year since the launch of Pokemon Unite. Over the course of this past year, many Pokemon have taken part in Unite battles, and new battle types and various events have been implemented. Now, to commemorate the 1 year anniversary, let's introduce new Pokemon that'll be taking part in Unite battles, as well as a new type of battle. Glaceon joins Unite battles starting July 21st. You can get Glaceon's Unite license from the IC Glaceon Challenge event. In August, Buzzwole and Tyranitar will arrive. Finally, in September, 3 more Pokémon will be joining the roster. Presenting a new type of quick battle, Boss Rush. Team up with players to defeat powerful boss Pokémon. Unite squads will also be able to compete for rankings in Boss Rush. Try to make it to the top of the rankings. A new system is being added, Pokemon Boost Emblems. Emblems come in 3 different grades, Gold, Silver, and Bronze. You can collect lots of emblems as energy rewards. Battle Pass Season 9 begins. You can get band-style Pikachu holoware. Finally, there will also be an anniversary cake challenge. You can collect frostings to earn rewards. Pokemon Unite will keep getting more and more exciting as it approaches its 1 year anniversary. Events are also planned for September, so please look forward to them. During the first anniversary celebration campaign, you can get Unite licenses and holoware for Pikachu, Blastoise, Lucario, Snorlax, and Sylveon. Also, this is a good time to play with friends. We have lots of great events that are even more fun if you play together. And many more campaigns and events are on the way. Please visit the official Pokemon Unite website for more information about the events and campaigns planned for the 1 year anniversary.
And here we are. We've made it to grand finals for event number 3 for the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Jordan Kent alongside 9 and Falco. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket here as we have our 2 top teams making their way. Now all they have to do is duke it out in a best-of-7 matchup here in grand finals for a flurry of prizes. It is DNA who made quick work of not FT win, one of the favorites coming in, versus Super P, who we've seen improve event after event in this Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Let's go ahead and check out the rules for grand finals. As we mentioned, best of 7. Team with the lower seed will choose the mode for the first game. The other team will choose the stage. Those are your game modes as well too, but then take a look at the stages, a different set of stages to go through. So I'm sorry, 9, no Sturgeon Shipyard to choose from, but I want to go to Super P here, 9, because it really feels like they've turned a corner here and have found the solution to close out a lot of these games that might have been elusive to them in the last couple of events.
Yeah, this is a spot that they've been in, finishing second place in 2 of these North American Opens over the course of just the last year. So they've been here before. So to your point, they've turned one corner, and here's the roadblock. Can they get over this with the way that DNA was playing earlier? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because Falco, what really stood out about DNA was how well they played defense. There was never an opportunity that not FT Win was able to come back, take the lead, and control. It always felt like that DNA was able to just hold their ground at all of those critical moments.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, when you get that 3-0 win over a team as competitive as Not FT Win, that just makes it that much better for you. And Super P, they know they're taking on a team that took down Not FT Win. So that's got to be another thing to think about.
So as we get set for the game mode and map here, for Super P, it's really been almost this ultra aggressive type of play here where they continue to play very effectively on offense and they really don't slow down. That's when it seems like Super P is at their best.
Yeah, it's when Super P is at their best, and that's one of the reasons why this is such an intriguing matchup, because everything that we've said about DNA is, hey, a little opening goes a long way. Once they get their momentum going, they're so difficult to stop. Not only did they play great defense last time, but every push they had made was also either a knockout or very, very close to it. So I'm actually really intrigued to see what Super P's answer for that is going to be.
Yeah, it's the classic unstoppable force versus an immovable object. And so we're going to have Clam Blitz on the Reef, one of the classic stages here at Falco. What do you expect to see between these two teams on this map and mode?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different than what we had seen in the previous semis. No Sturgeon Shipyard, like you said before. But, I mean, it's all about where you throw these power claims in, because there's a spot up here we call the car. And if you can get yourself in a good position and hide behind there, when a lot of the enemies have already dropped down, you're going to get a lot of claims in.
Here we go. First game of Grand Finals. You've got DNA taking on Super P. Both teams rushing towards the middle. DNA in the blue or the purple versus Super P in the yellow. Here is Landon already scooping up 7 claims here at the moment. 4-3 on the map. Early advantage for DNA. Landon dropping down below. This is an interesting situation, Nine. You try to make sure you have that numbers advantage before you pick up that power clam, but oh my goodness, an early wipe for Super P.
Whenever you get flanked from two sides at the same time, something has gone horribly wrong. There's something wrong with the G diffuser, and this is where Super P has an opportunity to make a big push here. Synapse is already pushing at the car and has some help from Thunder as well. Down goes Luke. Look at this. Juan is going to be able to almost unopposed fire some more clams in. Now Leo's come up as well. They have the splash wall, and they continue rotating so well, and they still have a couple members up. Thunder might score more.
It's been that rotation for Super P that has guided them to Grand Finals, and how about the initial push, building a 65-point lead. Still a little bit of time left on that timer, but that is all you're looking for. Nice push here. Now it's up to DNA to see if they can respond, and it's a rare situation for them here, Falco, where they've got to really make sure they're on the offensive. Usually they're used to playing with the lead here.
Certainly, and knowing that your opponents did all of that within a matter of 1 minute, that was the quickest we had seen a basket open so far today. But Super B trying to make something of their own once again, as they have the map control, and are they going to get another claim in? Yes, they are.
Super P, we mentioned it, the hyper-aggressive offensive style they've been showcasing has bode them well, and it is a clear wipe. Go ahead, grab the mop, and just clean things up here. They are just one clam away. They are seeking for it. Here comes the super jump, and just like that, a knockout 9, a shutout, where DNA doesn't even get a chance to score a point. Talk about making a statement to start Grand Finals.
And the way that game opened again was so bizarre. Usually on the Reef, you'll have someone who attacks from the left side and someone who attacks from the bridge. Very rarely do you have somebody attack from the far left side and the far right side while there is somehow still pressure on the bridge. At some point, you start to run out of inklings to execute these plans with. However, they found a way to do it so far, and it really did seem like every time there was a scrap, there was a skirmish or anything like that, none of the members of Super P went down. They survived, and again, to call out one name in particular, Synapse absolutely controlled the pace of that game from start to finish.
Yeah, Falco, I wanted to ask you, as you really looked at some of the one-on-one action and what happened on the field of play while this basket was getting filled, what stood out to you about what Super P was able to accomplish?
I mean, it's just the battle of getting the picks and getting the clams in at the same time. Not one or the other. They were able to take care of both of those at the same time.
And I think what really stands out too, Nine, is you're already filling the basket with clams. DNA knows where you're going to be at, but in order to not just get there, but then to have the time to fill the basket with clams, it really felt like DNA was shocked at how quickly Super P was able to organize and communicate for that initial push.
And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to do it on Reef as well, Falco completely called this right before the game even started. If you get control of your opponent's car, which is, aptly the car right by your opponent's basket, you have to address that threat. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to come out to defend. And when you have a player like Synapse and Thunder who just rotate around there and always keep a presence there, if you don't address that, you're not going to be able to defend successfully. Not only were they not able to address it, they weren't even able to come close.
So Super P, a team that got second last time in event number 2 of this Inkopolis Showdown, taking game 1 here against DNA. We'll see which game mode DNA will want to switch to. They choose tower control, and we will head to Starfish main stage. And this is a fun one. This is always one of my favorite ones here, Falco. What do you see here? Because it feels like one of the checkpoints in particular can be very difficult to clear.
Yeah, certainly. And, like we've said, for any mode, it's all about your positioning. But it's going to be really crucial to see where these teams can go, where they can put themselves. And you're right, it is all about the checkpoints and how well you can defend and progress through them.
And it feels like, Nine, especially on Starfish main stage, if you're on defense, you're going to have the verticality over your opponent because based upon your spawn, if you are advancing the tower, how do you best prepare for that onslaught when you're trying to move it forward here?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and that's one of the things that I think people have sort of come around to with the advent of missiles, is you understand the opponent is almost certainly going to have at least one weapon that can fire Tenta-missiles, but if all they can do is fire Tenta-missiles, you can hop off the tower, hop back on, and be okay. So there will come a point in every push where the opponent is going to have to get a little bit more honest and a little more heavy-handed. So as long as you can adroitly move past those specials and identify when the opponent is going to dive onto the tower, you can usually extend it for a little while longer.
And it feels like, Falco, for Super P, they have to get off to a good start because it felt like DNA played a completely different type of game when they're having to play from behind. So it really feels like you've got to get that tower and then also make sure you secure some of those one-on-ones moving forward because that's what's worked for Super P so far in this event number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in game 1 on Claimblitz on the Reef, exactly. I mean, if they can do exactly what they did during that game, get 2 flanks going at the same time, they can take care of the tower, get all the splats, and get the player advantage and progress through those checkpoints.
All right, we are getting set for tower control. Starfish main stage. We'll see if Super P can build a 2-0 advantage in grand finals, or will DNA evolve their play style and try and figure out a solution to the offensive juggernaut that is Super P. Both teams rushing towards the middle of the map, and it feels like at this point here, Nine, are you more concerned about the tower, or are you putting yourself in a strategic position to pick off a few of the opponents?
Well, I think certainly here at the start, you just want to not get flanked like you saw at the beginning of that last game. Already their Kensa 52 player has gone down, and Landon, one of the other players here that can really take control of the map with this Splattershot Jr. has already had to back up, and now look at this. They are able to thankfully take out the attacker early, so that's going to take the bite out of this push here, and it does look like they've been able to take 2 members down, but I would be very, very happy just to escape with this one without too many points from the opponent.
Landon able to get the splat right there with Splat Bomb, and then all of a sudden it's Thunder getting a little bit of help, and just like that, Super P right back on the tower, getting to that first checkpoint. You see Thunder dropping down. Here come those Tenta-missiles. That'll make it a little bit harder for DNA to get in their defensive positions, and one more splat for good measure. 2-1 on the map. Nice little response here, Falco, from Super P when they almost lost the tower.
It certainly is, and they're doing a great job making sure that they have the player advantage and painting in front of the tower. That is very important. And now they're going to be charging up these specials, and just as quickly they get to the second checkpoint too. But DNA trying to apply some more pressure, but Super P still using their own specials and quickly get through that second checkpoint.
You see Landon trying to get a little bit closer, but obviously doesn't have the range from back there to threaten the tower. And now it is checkpoint number 3 for Super P. Not even slowed down. You see Leo up top finally gets splattered, but there they do it. They clear the checkpoint, and how about the haymaker and knockout by Super P? They do it again, Nine.
Artful. Every part of that push was so well executed. You saw they threw the Booyah Bomb to make sure that the long-range weapons from DNA couldn't get set up. At that point, once they rotate back and get around the missiles that DNA had fired, they have their own missiles. They use those missiles to then push an attacker up onto the grates. And then finally, once it all comes down, they've got their Tri-Slosher sitting below doing exactly what that Tri-Slosher is going to do, which is hit anyone who is above them. And you just can't draw it up any better than that from an attacking side. I mean, mean, I'm certain there were some mistakes that DNA made, but you cannot attack any better than that.
And what stood out to me, Falco, was the fact that Super P was able to push Leo back to where that splatter shot wasn't effective at any point, because you saw how far away Leo was, couldn't threaten the tower. That's basically losing a member of your team, because Super P was just able to continue to push and push and push, and the offense paying off once again for Super P.
Exactly, and one of Super P's most aggressive player there is Juan on the Tri-Slosher, getting the most splats and assists. They pushed up the furthest, and that's really what got the tower past the first 2 checkpoints, and obviously helped along with the 3rd checkpoint too and get the KO.
All right, brings up game 3. We'll figure out what game mode that we're going to see from DNA here. Super P will change the map, and what you saw, Nine, is they didn't repeat things on the Reef. They had no problem switching over to Starfish main stage, and so if you're DNA, you really got to think about some stuff here, because you've kind of been dominated 2 games in a row, which is surprising considering what we saw them do to not FT win.
Yeah, I'll be really interested in seeing what Helix in particular plays, because Helix is their charger player. That time went back over to the Bamboozler, but previously we saw a devastating splatter scope be played, and I know part of that was because we were on very strong Stingray maps, but we also saw an E-leader when it came to Splat Zone, so be very interested. I think that that's a player who really needs to come up big if they're going to right the ship.
All right, we have got Splat Zones on the Reef coming up here, so just a little old school Splatoon 2 coming right here in this game 3, and for here, obviously the bridge, Falco, is where it all comes down to. Control of the bridge, whether you're below or above. How do you make sure you secure this zone and also force the opponent out?
I mean, you get players like Juan who are able to take the bridge and just drop paint down on the zone and keep an eye out for it. So again, if Super P did exactly like they did in Game 1 on Clan Blitz, they're not going to have a hard time.
As we've said before, Nine, Super P, it really feels like they just continue to play hyper offense. That's the difference that I've seen from Event 3 to Event 2. And right now, you talk about momentum, you talk about confidence. This is what's really fueling Super P. You get the sense that they feel like they could beat anybody at this moment.
And I'd be hard-pressed to tell them that they're wrong with the way that they've been playing here. And there are so many of these engagements where they're just able to survive and survive very healthily. There is no telling what happens in either of those pushes if one goes down early, if a Wayward Bomb is able to take out Synapse, if the armor even gets taken off too early. So again, they're firing on all cylinders, and this is what it can look like. You can have 2 similarly matched teams, but then the execution comes in and it looks like they're not evenly matched teams. I promise you, these players have played against each other many times and traded blows over and over, but so far it has been Super P's day.
All right, we're getting set for Splat Zones on the Reef. Super P trying to take a commanding 3-0 lead. Can DNA finally get things gathered together here and make it a 2-1 lineup here in Grand Finals? We'll see. They're both rushing here. And Nine, you mentioned you were looking at the loadouts. Anything come to mind for you?
Oh man, this is the, all right, we've been waiting for this comp right here. You already see, 10 seconds into the game, some missiles coming out from Helix's mini Splatling. This builds missiles like no other weapon. It does great chip damage with its burst bomb, and it's pretty mobile on top of that. They've also switched now over to that foil squeezer, which we saw against FT Win absolutely shut down a counter push. But as we say that, we keep saying his name. Juan is once again pushed up, and there's Synapse with him.
And Juan, a huge pick on Landon, and now it is Super P securing both the zones. And this is what's interesting about this map here, Falco. It's a dual zone map, and that can always change things up. And now we see DNA finally gathering things up. 4-3 advantage. Feels like here's an opportunity for them to get back into the game, but it's quickly snuffed out by Super P once again.
Yeah, Super P is doing a good job holding on to both of these zones, and like you said, we have 2 zones. They're both slightly smaller than any other zone, so you have to make sure you can control both of them, and it looks like DNA is able to get it for the first time, and 3 players are down on Super P, so this is an opportunity for DNA to try and get the lead.
Oh, Luke out, baby. A double splat for Luke as all of a sudden DNA starting to storm back into this game 3. They're just seconds away from taking the lead, and they've done a fine job here, Nine, of getting Super P pushed out a little bit and engaged further away from the zone.
We will talk afterwards about that pun, but this has all started because they were able to take out Leo when Leo was trying to defend one side of the map there. It was really the first mistake I've seen Leo make, and this all really has come from that uncertainty, which is where DNA thrives here. When there's the skirmishes, when there's the scrappiness, that is when they're able to find their avenues of attack. Now that it's gotten back to much more of a set play scenario where both sides know where the attacks are coming from. This is where Super P has really thrived.
And don't count Super P out. They were up 3-2 on the map here for a moment, and they are chewing away at this penalty here. But let's see if they can sort of fortify the zone here. You didn't get the feeling that they were able to really keep DNA out as much last time, Falco. And just like that, here comes DNA roaring back into the match.
Yeah, DNA was able to get back and get to the zone very quickly to prevent Super P from taking the lead, but Super P also very quick to respawn. There are 3 players who are down now on DNA, and Super P setting themselves up in a very good position. I want to pay attention to the blaster there. If you can get your blaster by the ledges and prevent any DNA members from dropping down, you're going to have a great time. Will this be enough, though, for Super P to take back the lead? 3 specials ready for the side of DNA, but Super P is going to take the lead.
Super P has gobbled up the lead. Here is Juan, Ink Armor ready to go, deploys it to help out the teammates. Some bubbles coming in. Those are trying to get popped here. Juan able to pick up Dark here. Juan trying to cover the zone. Bobbing, weaving. It's going to be DNA claiming the zone, but back to Super P, and this is where things start to get feisty. 2 minutes left, 9, just 6 points separating these two teams.
Yeah, but a great punish here again by Dark, who is going to get taken out again. And there we go. Falco, you called it out right there. Leo at exactly the right part to get that revenge splat there. Once again, DNA now on their back foot. And this time, they're not going to have enough time to build all of their specials. They're going to have to go 2 at a time, and there's 2 ready already from Super P.
And Super P playing some defense to go along with that offense. They are now starting to build upon their lead. The penalty's gone. Luke trying to avoid that rapid blaster, able to move out of the threat range of that. Luke trying to dive back down. And it looks like DNA is going to get a chance to cover some of these zones. But how about the job done once again? Nicely timed special. It's a 4-0 wipe for a moment for Super P. They are closing in on the game here, Falco.
That is right, and they are going to seal the deal with that. Getting that wipe at the best opportunity you could possibly get it with just about 15 seconds or 15 units remaining. That is what gave Super P the win and what makes them up 3-0.
Super P can start to smell a championship. 3-0 over DNA, and we saw the defense to go along with the offense. And we said it, 9, just some of those moments for Super P when the match is hanging in the balance, they're able to get those critical picks that help propel them to the win. This is not what we were seeing the last couple of times. You love to see a team grow and evolve right in front of your eyes.
Absolutely. This has been an incredible display of play. And one player that I want to call out in that last game you saw there was actually the Kensa splatter shot from Super P, who Thunder had previously in that last game moved forward attack. We said one of the big players on the offensive side. That time, only 4 splats and assists, but 8 Tenta missiles. That's versatility, it's unselfishness, and it's understanding what your weapon can do in that moment.
So obviously DNA up against the ropes. We saw a little bit more from them in splat zones, but you go back to again with Super P, it's this offense. They are just unrelenting, and having the specials ready, it really feels like, Falco, they have figured out how to really seize control of a game and just constantly apply that pressure.
Yeah, that's certainly right. And I mean, the good news for them, if they can do it one more time, they will be victorious. And DNA, they have a lot that they need to try and overcome. But if you're DNA, you need to take this one game at a time.
And 9, how about the job we're seeing from Leo with that Rapid Pro Deco, just able to apply consistent pressure and really just getting a lot of picks and assists and just really pestering DNA. It feels like at any moment where DNA is trying to get in and get out, there's a splatter, there's a hit with that Rapid Pro Deco.
Yeah, a weapon after my own heart. One of my very favorite in the entire game. A point-and-click adventure, as some might call it, because it's not always the most exciting weapon to watch. You're generally not the first person to go and take a fight. You're really calling out where the opponents are and only firing if one of your teammates is there. But that's what it can look like when it works. You set down your wall, you provide an occasional ink armor, and more than anything, you're an omnipresent help to your teammates, especially on a map like the Reef.
And it goes to show you just the different ways you can support in one of those backliner roles. There's so many different things that you can do, but just always being present and on the map, Falco, and just being able to be a constant issue for the opposing team, that's huge, and that can dictate the entire flow of a game here.
Oh, certainly. If an enemy player sees your backline player and they're in a 1v1, you can have your support player come on in and help them get that pick to get the player advantage. So again, that's why communication, we'll say it over and over again, communication is so important, and to have just to have great teammates overall.
So we've gone through 3 game modes. We'll have Rainmaker coming up here soon, but you wonder what map Super P is going to choose here. They've been successful in both iterations of the Reef, and then also, of course, Starfish main stage. And really, Nine, when you're this close, this has got to be a very exciting moment here for Super P as we get set for Rainmaker on Humpback Pump Track. They are just one game away from winning a championship here. That's something that has eluded them over the last 2 times they've made it to Grand Finals.
Yeah, this has to be so good. I can almost imagine they're shaking. You're almost shaking more when you're 1 game away from winning than you are losing. It seems like you've done everything right so far, and them going to Humpback Pump Track is not a surprise at all to me. There's, of course, that long stretch on the left side of your spawn where the teams will almost always push. With the way Leo's playing right now, why not?
Yeah, Super P trying to get that final out to try and close this thing. We'll see if they can pick up Game 4 here as we get set for Rainmaker on Humpback Pump Track. And this is one of those modes that can go very quickly here, Falco. If you're DNA, it feels like you've got to be very careful about not getting picked off in the middle, because we've seen Super P get off to some terrific starts in these grand finals.
Oh, certainly. When your whole team goes down, it's going to make it very difficult. So DNA, they're going to have something up their sleeve to make sure that they don't allow Super P to get in one of those positions.
And we'll see for Super P what they need to do to get to this good start here, right, Nine? Because it feels like they build up that first special so quickly, and that coupled with how fast they're able to advance forward is sometimes a little overwhelming for the opposition.
And they've done such a great job of cleaning the plate off every time, and maybe more important here in Rainmaker than anything, they've done such a great job of, again, not going down in the 1v1s, not even a trade, just being able to pick it clean and make sure that no one's behind them, can't push forward with a bogey on your tail.
So for DNA, it's a matter of making sure you don't get caught behind early in the game. And then finally, when they've seemed to have success with their pushes, Falco, it really feels like the bubbles have played a huge role, but they've got to figure out a little bit more in the offensive end. It really feels like that's where they've been lacking in these grand finals.
Certainly, and this map mode combo, there are certain specials that are maybe more viable than others, so we could very well see a Stingray to help support the aid and push the Rainmaker towards the objective, but we'll see.
Game 4. Humpback Pump Track. We'll see if Super P can get the sweep and claim the championship, or does DNA still have some fight left in them? Both teams rushing to the middle here. We'll see if Super P can get off to one of those terrific starts. You see the shield bursted by DNA. We'll see what team grabs it first. 4-4 on the map. Here comes the Stingray out early here, 9 for DNA.
Yeah, once again, DNA has very dramatically shifted their comp here. They've moved Dark back over to that Kensa sloshing machine, and they've also switched Helix back over to that custom Jet Squelcher to try to get a Stingray pressure here, but lo and behold, it's Synapse once again behind them already. There's not going to be a Stingray there, and thankfully the respawn comes in from Dark at just the right time. Going to try to find another pick here, and it does look like they're going to, again, be able to at least slow it down, but Dark getting shot out of the air by Synapse as well. Juan is still there. The jumps are coming in, and they haven't even found their footing on this defense.
We talked about it, Falco. Super P, they wanted to get off to a good start. This is exactly the thing that DNA did not want to let happen. Super P sticking to it, trying to go for the dunk for the championship. Thunder trying to find a sliver to get up, and Thunder throwing down for the championship of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Super P finally able to climb that hill and get to the top, and they do it in emphatic fashion. How dominant, Falco, did they look in these grand finals?
I mean, extremely dominant. In the 2 modes that you're able to control the pace, Clam Blitz and Rainmaker, they just showed so much more aggression, and those were the games that really, they sealed the deal. They got the win.
So just like that, Rainmaker, 9, you said it early, if you blinked, you missed it. Super P, a 4-0 sweep in grand finals. Let's go ahead and check out the bracket just for good measure. Document it, write it, screenshot it. Super P is your champion after finishing second last time. They take care of business against DNA, who swept not FT win. 3 of their 4 members had been at the peak of Splatoon 2 competitive play. So when you talk about the evolution of new teams here, 9, that are starting to rise to the forefront of Splatoon 2, and as we make this transition to Splatoon 3 here soon, you've got to love what Super P accomplished today.
Yeah, and to have the level of execution they did, right? We can talk forever about this comp should do this. On this map, you want this weapon. But at a certain point, you have to do all the little things right. And it's so difficult to again, truly quantify exactly how well Super P was playing today. Almost no mistakes at any point. Maybe once or twice they overextended, but the survivability, and even there at the end, some of the best evasion I've ever seen by a Rainmaker carrier. Thunder, who one game was leading the way with lots of splats, then came back and fired a lot of missiles, and then at the end to be able to maneuver around with the Rainmaker. All of the players on Super P capable of that, and that is, I mean, why they got such a dominant victory today. I'm speechless. It's incredible.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Falco, a closing thought from you from what we saw from Super P. I mean, this was just remarkable. They dropped their first game in semifinals and then win 7 straight untouched to claim the championship.
Yeah, anytime you win 7 games in a row, honestly, it doesn't even matter where it is in the bracket, is very impressive. But if you're able to do it in semis and in finals, you deserve the win. You deserve the victory.
Well, congratulations to Super P. They are the champions for Event 3 of the Splatoon 2 Inkopolis Showdown 2022. Don't forget, we'll have Event 4 coming next week for myself, Nine, and Falco. A huge shout out to our production team as well, too. An excellent job there. Don't forget to keep tuning in to Nintendo Versus for more Nintendo competitive action. From all of us here, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and congratulations once again to not only all the teams, but especially Super P on getting the championship today.
Whether it's to play your favorite game, to play for school pride, or for the thrill of competition, play competitively with Play Versus. Visit playvs.com today for more information.
Welcome, all you kids and squids, to our recap of the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021. My name is Ninehole Grains, I'm a Splatoon commentator and a huge fan of the game, and I cannot be more excited to bring the action to you here today.
Hi everybody, my name is Milana and I'm an enthusiastic squid kid just like you. Today we're joined by 2 teams, Not FT Win and Starburst, 2 of the best teams in North America duking it out for a trophy featuring Judd and Lil Judd. Without further ado, let's take it to game number 1.
Game 1 was a story of decisive movement and trusting your game plan, and boy did these teams get it started early.
That's right, Nine. We can see here Kyo getting an early splatted by Bran and Ice, and both members of Starburst moving to that advantageous positioning and, really just holding down that zone where they need to be.
It's not easy to take back against this team, and take a look at how Not FT Win did it. Look at all those bombs flying from left to right, booyah bombs, suction bombs, splat bombs. Woo! Had to back all the way back and give up the zone there.
Yeah, and we can catch that slow-mo replay in case you missed a little bit of that action. As we can see here, some of those suction bombs running in and trying to catch that zone from Not FT Win. And what is important here to notice is that 2 members of FT Win trying to combine their specials to hold that zone, and because there's power in numbers, Nine.
There absolutely is power in numbers. I see what you did there, and this is actually a strategy that they used multiple times throughout this game. We actually have it from the perspective of Bagel this time, who is lined all the way back, tossing the suction bombs from as far away as possible, understanding that they need to stay on the map if they want to take the zone. At the corner of your eye, you'll also see that Kyo had jumped down with another bomb rush as well. It was just enough to take the zone back as they were on the verge of defeat. With just over 10 seconds left, they bought themselves some more time.
And like we said, positioning. Biscuit here is taking kind of a dangerous position and unfortunately gets picked off by Ice, but Ice here using that pick to make space and take a more advantage spacing so that they can protect the zone.
The 2 teams traded punches back and forth through the rest of it until this final decisive hold here from FT Win. Bagel once again gets it started out with that suction bomb rush, but take a look here, holding down this area by this fan to ensure that his teammates could move up. You're gonna see here just in a moment, Kyo backs up here next to Bagel and uses another bomb rush in order to force the members of Starburst all the way back. Once they got this portion of the map, Milana, they never let it go.
That's right, Nine, and we see that timer ticking down, and this was the decisive play that gave them the victory.
A fantastic game number 1, and let me tell you, when we saw that game number 1 looked like this, we knew we're in for one heck of a set. And speaking of that set, let's go ahead and throw it right into the middle with game number 4.
As we enter Game 4 of the Fresh 4 Championship, Not FT Win only has one more game to claim the victory. Starburst is going to have to make some big changes, so they opt to change their weapon composition to something a little longer ranged.
What Starburst gained in a bit of range, they gave up in mobility. About halfway through the game, Not FT Win took advantage of a slight overextension and used that speed to swarm the members of Starburst as they went on to score big. From there, it was a hop, skip, and a jump to get a huge lead that they would hold until the game's waning seconds.
And with 30 seconds left on the clock, Starburst is going to have to make some big moves to get some points on the board. Brandroid taking that left route over there and getting a pick off of Not FT Win is going to be huge. It's going to give them a little bit of area to move forward, and it's going to make Not FT Win retreat.
They took advantage of that almost immediately. You can see Bran and Jared at the top of the screen attacking Not FT Win's flank. In the meantime, Ice and Brandroid wait patiently for that attack to land, and once Bran rotates back, Ice moves in with a huge score that starts the bonanza. The rest of the members swarm as quickly as they can, and an emphatic victory going the direction of Starburst.
And with the end of Game 4, Starburst is finally on the board, and the momentum starts to shift in their favor. That will bring us to an exciting Game 7. Let's take a look here.
We had finally arrived at Game 7, the championship point. The two rivals had treated us to another incredible set in their storied history. But it was finally time to determine a winner and for heroes to be made.
Our first big play was made by Ice. Ice from Starburst surviving an unlikely 2v1 right here, and this gives Starburst the ability to push up a little bit. And Ice, taking that aggressive positioning, is able to charge their special, the Stingray. By using the Stingray, they are able to kind of produce a little bit of covering fire and take out hopefully a member or two of Not FT Win, helping that Rainmaker make its first push.
Not to be outdone by his teammate, Bran went on an absolute tear this game, hitting an incredible double direct with this Inkjet and getting a second pick on Kyo from Not FT Win. This push looked like it might take the points the distance as the team moved closer and closer to getting that knockout.
What Starburst wasn't anticipating was Biscuit waiting for them as they were making that push. Biscuit able to hold that defensive positioning and take a couple of members of Starburst down allows for an opening for Not FT Win to make a push.
In their final desperate push, FT Win placed all their cards in the correct position. Kyo and Bagel moved up, taking out 3 members, with the last one being Brandroid. In an incredible, unlikely fight, Brandroid was able to take out all 3 members of Not FT Win, securing the victory for his team.
But that was a lot of action in one go, so let's take another look at the action in slow-mo. As we can see here, 2D is holding a defensive positioning, trying to defend against Bran, getting a lot of support from their teammates, and in this one last final opportunity to make the push, unfortunately Brandroid is able to stop all 3 members of Not FT Win in one go, giving the victory to Starburst.
At the end of this historic set, Starburst completed an incredible reverse sweep to earn their very first North American Championship.
And 9, I for one cannot wait to see Not FT Win and Starburst duke it out on the battlefield once again.
We've hoped you'd enjoyed this recap of the Splatoon 2 Fresh 4 Championship 2021. Until next time, stay fresh!